Welcome to the Ben Daniel Podcast, where we're calling a spade a spade. Great to be here with you guys today. Elle Duncan, folks. Elle Duncan. It seems as if ESPN has given her the script for the 2025 WNBA seasons. ESPN talked to her like The Rock talks to everybody else. The Rock talks to know your role and shut your... Elle Duncan, the role that she is going to be playing in the 2025 season regarding the WNBA, she is going to be the hot taker. She is going to be the shock jock. She is going to be the one that says the most outlandish, the most nonsensical things regarding the 2025 WNBA season that anybody with a brain in between their two ears can't help but to laugh. We can't help but to laugh and just say, what the L? What the L? But we're all a creative bunch, so it might be what the L. We might say LOL. Shoot, we might even go as far as saying LMAO. LMAO. Because every time you make an appearance, every time you make a comment regarding the game, Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever, WNBA, we just can't help but to laugh our behinds off. We can't help but to laugh our behinds off, and we just hear what you say. We start cringing, and we just say, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Now I gotta talk about this again. Elle Duncan, what did you say this time around that has earned you your latest appearance on the Ben Daniel Podcast? Well, let's hear what you have to say.
Question for you, and you tell me, and then we're going to run the tape and see if you were right.
Perfect.
7 months from now in October when all these things are crowned.
Perfect.
I feel like I know where you're going to go with this one. Caitlin Clark will win MVP.
That's a fact. Elle, she was as close to the second best odds to win it last year. And I think after we came out of the All-Star break, she had a couple of games where I think she was sort of like the favorite to win MVP. And this was no disrespect to obviously Asia Wilson or Nafisa Collier, and obviously Wilson, pulled it down the home stretch and got another one. But Caitlin Clark being in that very, very short list of second best odds, third best odds, and I think that's where she actually finished in her rookie season. Yes. New coach,
Okay.
new veteran players. Yes.
To be clear, there was never a time where she was the favorite to win MVP. There was a time after the All-Star break that she made it an interesting conversation because it was a runaway train for Asia Wilson the entire season.
I
Then
disagree.
post All-Star break, I mean, Nafisa Collier's the one that finished second, but it became
Yeah.
more interesting. It's like when, Jokic is the undisputed guy, and then all of a sudden you see a guy like put together a really great half of the year, Shea
Hmm.
Gilgeous-Alexander last year. So then all of a sudden the conversation becomes more interesting. But like they
Yeah.
took the odds down. I mean, it was Asia Wilson's to lose. But I will say a couple of things. Do I expect Asia Wilson to be Asia Wilson again this year? Yes. But I also know there is such a thing as voter fatigue. They don't like giving anybody MVP 3 times in a row. They barely like to do it 2 times in a row, let alone 3 times in a row. I just don't see it simply because of voter fatigue. Like it just
Yeah.
is what it is. I also think that Caitlin was putting it together in such a way last year. They're only going to get better. And now they've got a full off season together. I could
Hmm.
100% see this happen.
Yeah.
They won't give anybody WNBA MVP 3 times in a row, let alone 2 times in a row, especially not 3 times in a row. And folks, I am not the smartest person in the world, right? I'm not the smartest person. So I had to actually double check who was the 2023 WNBA MVP. And when I check, well, Breanna Stewart won the 2023 WNBA MVP. So we're going for 2 times in a row. Maybe Elle Duncan caught herself, or maybe Elle Duncan realized she actually has no clue who's won the last 3 years of WNBA MVP. I could be wrong, folks. I could be wrong. Seems like Elle Duncan may have caught herself in the middle of saying I'm not going to say a lie. I'm not going to say a fib. I'm going to say she just wasn't fully aware of that situation. A'ja Wilson's trophy to lose. Well, it was her trophy to lose because before the season even started, we already crowned A'ja Wilson as the WNBA MVP. You recall that, Elle. This time last year, 2024, A'ja Wilson was already crowned, was already deemed the unanimous MVP of the 2024 WNBA season, no matter what anybody else did. You could have had a great season as a team. You could have put up Defensive Player of the Year numbers, and you could have played better than A'ja Wilson in head-to-head matchups, clearly being the best player on the court, and they still would have given that award to A'ja Wilson. Shout out to Nafisa Collier, by the way. You could have taken the Indiana Fever from the basement up into the beautiful, spacious living room, kicking your feet up, watching on a flat screen TV. First time in the playoffs since 2016. Same roster, first time in the playoffs since 2016. Putting up exquisite numbers post All-Star break. It was like 24, 8, and 6, somewhere along those lines. Don't quote me, folks. You still couldn't even get in the WNBA MVP conversation. It was already a foregone conclusion. It was A'ja Wilson's MVP before the season started. Voter fatigue, that is hysterical. Elle Duncan, that is actually comical, right? Voter fatigue, for those of you who aren't aware, voters just get tired of voting for the same person over and over and over and over again. And unfortunately, the example she used with Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and coming on the second half of the year, what a terrible example. What an absolute terrible example. Voter fatigue is going to cost Caitlin Clark 4 MVPs. She's going to finish with, at minimum, 4 MVPs, but it's going to cost her 4 MVPs because the voters are going to be so tired of voting her MVP, 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 MVP. All right, let's give it to somebody else. We definitely have not gotten to that point yet with A'ja Wilson. Voter fatigue has definitely not gotten to the point with A'ja Wilson. In fact, I would say it's the opposite. I would say it's the voters are more energized than ever to vote for A'ja Wilson now than before. They're more energized than ever to stick it to Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier now than ever before. They're more energized than ever to say, wait your turn, not so fast now than ever before. She didn't even win unanimous MVP, unanimous Rookie of the Year last year. How can we even expect her to get a fair shake when it comes to MVP votes? Tell me when I'm telling lies. Shout out to CM Punk. Voter fatigue. When it comes to this season, how we have the roster set up, Nafisa Collier definitely has a stronger claim to getting an MVP this year than A'ja Wilson does. Caitlin Clark has a stronger claim getting to MVP this year than A'ja Wilson does. A'ja Wilson should be third on the list. Let's be fair. She should be third on the list. And again, Elle Duncan is going to look at numbers. Oh, is she going to have another year of putting up the same numbers? Yeah, she might. But when it comes to impact, who's going to have a bigger impact? In addition to numbers, in addition to wins, in addition to making teammates better, in addition to wins in terms of this season opposed to last season. Elle Duncan continues to move the goalposts and change the conversation, and fans, fortunately, aren't foolish enough to continue to buy it. ESPN is facilitating all of this. This is good for the W, just infuriates us fans. ESPN probably is facilitating. They're probably, Elle Duncan, this is what you got to do. This is the role that you got to play. You got to play the Skip Bayless role. You got to be the thorn. You got to be the hot taker. You got to be the person who just says the most, not even Skip Bayless. That's too much credit. The Kendrick Perkins. You got to be the Kendrick Perkins role. Skip Bayless actually is a Hall of Famer in his own right. You could be the Kendrick Perkins role with your nonsense and your hot takes and your garbage. Jordan only got 5 MVPs. Voter fatigue is a real thing. Yeah, it's going to be why Caitlin Clark only wins 4 and not 8, not 7, not, you guys get the point. The Wilson MVP train left the station before the season even started. She 100% has a valid point. Problem is, nothing she says can be taken seriously given her historical bias. That's a good point. Whether she has a point or not, she said so many nonsensical things in the past. How can we take what she says in the future with anything but a grain of salt? It's clear what side of things she's on, who she aligns with. She's just trying to get invited to the cookout. We know that. Unpopular opinion, but she sounds more knowledgeable than he does. I think the comments are inferring some slight that's not true. He loves Clark. Elle doesn't. This wasn't one of his best takes from a data standpoint, but Elle is wrong about Asia winning 2 years in a row. Yeah, they're both wrong. Nobody at ESPN knows anything. None of them really know what they're talking about. Let's call a spade here. Let's call a spade a spade. Her bitterness and resentment grows every day. At this point, she's just plain embarrassing herself. She is an IDIOT. God forbid, gasp, if the individual actually has talent and has worked her ass off for a bit. How about viewer fatigue? We're not going to get into viewer fatigue. I'm going to say it. Joy read her ass. God damn. God damn. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I appreciate all of the support. Elle Duncan, I hope you enjoyed our latest and our first installment of What the L, LOL, LMAO, and OL no of the Ben Daniel Podcast. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We'll see you next time, and as always, take it easy.